All right, we have right here, there's LeBron pointing, and LeBron is still pointing. And that's because LeBron is pointing because the Cavaliers actually are moving up and going forward. And one of the interesting things to look at, even some casual basketball fans I remember have asked me this, and some hardcore ones, how can a team like Toronto win 59 games and can't even beat the Cavs in a single game? And this is a good question. I mean, for example, the Cavs, great teams that they had with Lenny Wilkins era, with Mark Price, Larry Nance, Brad Daugherty, Craig Elo, that whole group, John Williams. They would win 57 games, 53 games, and get swept or kind of wiped out by the Chicago Bulls. Sometimes the games were close, but they were not playing 7-game series or whatever. If you go back in the quote shot game, 1989, at that point the Bulls were not, that Bulls team did not go and win a title. That was still a young team, and so that was kind of a Game 5, best-of-5 series. But after that, when the Cavs would play the Bulls, you know, if they got to 6 games, that was considered pretty good. Here is the difference. Over the course of a regular season, when you just play a team here or play a team there, sometimes it has to do with how the schedule's working. And I remember Stan Van Gundy, longtime NBA coach, just recently resigned with the Detroit Pistons, talked about, you know, when I'm coaching in the playoffs and I hand a player a scouting report and a DVD to look at of who he's going to guard, he goes, he might actually look at it. He goes, the regular season, they barely pay attention, they kind of scan it, but in the playoffs, you will get your players paying attention. That's why Tyronn Lue says he could take his defenders, say J.R. Smith, and have them lock in to DeMar Rosen, Victor Oladipo. So what will happen is that 10 days that they're playing Indiana, all J.R. Smith is thinking about basketball-wise really is Victor Oladipo and what he does, and a little bit about I got to make some shots. Then he moves on to Toronto. It's all DeMar Rosen all the time. Where does he go? And by the way, J.R. Smith, I think, has been one of the unsung heroes for the Cavaliers because of the good job he did, especially in the second round, DeMar Rosen. Rosen was so frustrated playing the Cavs and playing Smith that he sat out the final 14 minutes of Game 3 because he was playing so poorly that, remember, DeRozan's their leading scorer, 24-point scorer. Coach Dwayne Casey just saw that Rosen was a mess, and DeRozan sat. In Game 4, he got thrown out in the second half for a flagrant foul. I mean, he literally was taken out of the series, and they've done that before. And J.R. Smith was the lead guy on that, but they had other people helping. And here's the other thing that really makes such a difference, whether you have a LeBron or you have a Michael Jordan or maybe even the old days Magic Johnson, Kevin Durant. In the playoffs, your set plays tend to break down after 3 or 4 games. So you need guys who are extremely creative and athletic to create their own shot. In other words, they could do things that are totally unscripted. And that has then been one of the things that have really helped the Cavaliers or helped the Bulls when they had Michael Jordan, is that, you know, in effect, the Cavs don't have a ton of plays if you really watch it. A lot of LeBron has the ball in his hands. They spread out. LeBron drives and scores or drives and passes it out to somebody for an open shot, that kind of thing. Because that's why it was interesting where Kevin Love mentioned how what really helped him was when George Hill, the veteran point guard who had missed 3 games in the Indiana series, when he came back and played, because actually George Hill is more of a by the numbers point guard, and so he would set up Kevin Love on these pick and roll plays and other things for open shots. Whereas LeBron, he wasn't particularly setting up Kevin Love for anything except maybe a long 3-pointer, but that was it. So it has to do in the playoffs with not only you can take out the other guy's top scorer, unless he's a guy like LeBron, which is really hard to do, you can also then decide what players on any given day you're going to feature. You know, a couple of the games, the Cavs featured Kyle Korver, got him a lot of open shots. You know, some of the other games it's been Kevin Love. You're always featuring LeBron James. And here's a final critical piece about why certain teams went into playoffs and other ones don't. The playoffs rewards experience, not only because you've seen so many offenses and defenses, but when you have an older team during the regular season, sometimes you're playing 3 games in 4 nights, sometimes 4 games in 6 nights, a lot of back-to-back games. That never happens in the playoffs. You never play a back-to-back game. You always have at least 1 day off, sometimes 2, and that allows your veteran players, frankly, to rest more between games and to play longer minutes during the games when the games are actually being played. So when you look at the Cavs, that's why all of a sudden in the middle of the Indiana series, Ty Lue said, I'm going with my basically older lineup. That was, you know, a 37-year-old Kyle Korver and a 32-year-old LeBron-James, a 32-year-old George Hill. I think in his early 30s is J.R. Smith. You know, Kevin Love's knocking right on 30's door because not only their experience, but they do have time in between games to recover, and they have the ability to play more minutes in the playoffs just because of the off days. So those are some of the things that really come into play that have helped the Cavs during this postseason.